Welcome to CivilNet. My guest today is film director Aaron Biebert. He directed the award-winning documentary A Billion Lives, a film that takes a critical look at the history of smoking. Mr. Biebert came to Armenia to do research for his new documentary, You Don't Know Nicotine, and to learn more about the smoking habits in Armenia. Mr. Biebert, thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Yes. So you are traveling the world to meet people and talk about the nicotine culture in their own country. What made you decide to come to Armenia?
Well, I have a lot of friends in Hollywood that have come from Armenia, and it's when we talked about nicotine, announced this new movie, they said you have to come to Armenia. We have a very special situation where we have new leaders in our country. We also have really high rates of smoking, and it's very beautiful, and the people are nice. You should go to Armenia. And I was like, oh well, yeah. And then I looked into it, and I thought, oh, this is really special. So when we had heard about the Velvet Revolution and how peacefully the next generation was able to make big changes with leadership and begin to transform the country, we thought, well, when talking about nicotine, this is the perfect situation to kind of look into what will they be doing with smoking and nicotine? Will they be having a revolution with that too? So we thought we would come here, and it's been a great trip so far. Yeah.
Okay, and so far, has anything surprised you in Armenia, and what has been your more interesting find here so far?
Well, it is interesting now to, I was talking to a variety of different people that use nicotine, and it looks like there's people using a lot of cigarettes for sure. One of the things that was really interesting was how few women use cigarettes. So very few women use cigarettes, a lot of men use cigarettes, so that's very interesting, although I've been hearing that the number of women using cigarettes is actually going up. So yeah, it was interesting, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And could you please tell us what motivated you to tackle this specific topic about nicotine and cigarette?
Yeah, well, a long time ago when I was working in healthcare, the healthcare industry, one of my colleagues actually got lung cancer and died. He was using cigarettes all the way until till the end, even while he was having treatment. So that combined with starting to see some of my friends using some of the newer nicotine products, I was kind of, like, what is going on here? It seems like, there's kind of a new change. Younger people are using new nicotine products, and, I was a little bit scarred from, having a friend who died from lung cancer from smoking. So that's kind of how I got into the topic. And yeah, at one point I had even tried to ban smoking in the workplace that I had, and I had a lot of history with it. So decided to do 1 billion lives when I heard WHO projected that 1 billion people would die this century from smoking cigarettes, and then now we're making this new movie about nicotine. So yeah, kind of a crazy
personal
history.
Story.
Yeah.
So in the
yeah,
background.
It's personal. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so you often criticize the cigarette industry in your work, even in your previous documentary, A Billion Lives. And on social media, I read that you wrote that you have received threatening messages from individuals. Did you receive any threats from lobbies too, or?
No, not at this point. Nobody is from any organization or lobbies has threatened us, but you can see on social media people saying, if I ever meet him, I'm gonna punch him. There was somebody who had made a video that was really disturbing, and it sounded like maybe had some mental illness, and he was very upset about our movie. And so that, it's kind of scary, yeah, to see, because I don't know where these people live. I don't know, and we're just trying to get the truth out about it. So at the same time, it feels kind of crazy because we want to help people. At the same time, some people are very angry about it. So it's been kind of crazy, but no lobbies, no threats from lobbies.
Your movie has, in some way, I guess, it's an award-winning movie, the previous one, A Billion Lives. So it has, in a certain way, an impact on people. What is the next I would say, goal for you with this movie? Which one, what do you want to reach? What kind of aim do you have with this one?
Well, with this one, I think would be really good would be to reach more people. And, you know, we would notice that a lot of people don't, you know, even us in some ways don't completely understand nicotine. You know, of course with cigarettes, I think there's, people understand cigarettes are hurting people, and maybe 1 out of 2 people who use cigarettes will die early from some sort of related illness. But there's other ways people are using nicotine. Some people are using nicotine in patches or gum to quit smoking. We think that's pretty good. And there's some other interesting science that we're starting to learn about too with nicotine. So yeah, we hope that the world can understand nicotine better so that they can make good choices with how to, you know, how to make laws, how to help their friends who may not want to smoke anymore, you know, that kind of stuff, so that when we educate the population, hopefully we can all make better choices and, you know, make a bigger impact. So we hope to reach the whole world with it, yeah.
In Europe, you talked about laws, and in Europe actually there are laws and also some taxes on cigarettes, and they increase the price of cigarettes to impeach people, or at least to limit people smoking. Do you think that that kind of policies do work for real, or do we need to do more actually?
Well, there is, you know, some evidence that raising taxes to some point does help people decide not to use cigarettes if they're not, maybe if they have a mild addiction or they just do it for fun. But people who are using cigarettes very seriously and very frequently, oftentimes what I've learned in New Zealand when I was there is they have raised the cigarette prices so high that people who have an addiction to cigarettes are breaking into stores and stealing them now because they can't afford it. So it does seem that at some point the price is too high, and it doesn't stop people from, or at some point it's too high, but people will keep using it. And oftentimes we find that people who are using cigarettes maybe are some of the poorer people in our societies, or people, some people have different brain situations or even some mental illness, that they appear to smoke cigarettes more than the average person. And so if you make the taxes too high, sometimes you're actually penalizing people too much, I think. And so there's a healthy balance there somewhere, but you know, I think New Zealand has, in Australia, it's way too high. I think here it sounds like it's pretty low cost. So, you know, there's probably some room for more taxes maybe with that, but you know, at the same time, I don't think that's the main way to fix it. I think people just need to understand it more, and you know, we need to do more research on how to help people quit smoking.
From Armenia, we know that you met with Arsen Torosyan, who's Armenia's Minister of Health, and what other stakeholders do you plan to meet, or did you meet so far besides him?
Well, yeah, your health minister is a wonderful guy. He clearly cares a lot about the country. We had a good conversation, and he told us that he's looking at how do we help make our people healthier? How do we do that? He said he's looking at evidence-based ways to make changes, things that will help. I'm really excited to see, you know, kind of the velvet health revolution, you know, and help, you know, I'm excited to see that. We're also going to be meeting with, I think, some other doctors. We're working on that as well, and meeting with people who use nicotine as well, trying to learn about why do they use nicotine, you know, have they ever tried to quit using nicotine, different ways of using nicotine, you know, kind of trying to learn how is that here in Armenia. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, and also with regard to the global fight against nicotine, what do you believe are actually now the main challenges, and how they should be tackled actually?
Yeah, well, right now it's there's a battle going on of different sides of this, and even in public health they have a lot of arguments about how to help people who are using nicotine with smoke. That seems to be the worst way to use nicotine, is smoking. But then there's some people, you know, that are both in high places in public health arguing about that, and then you have the users are very unhappy with sometimes being treated like children. They don't like that too much, you know, and so there's a lot of just fighting going on, and at the same time people aren't always using good information. They're not using science. They're not using evidence. You know, like your health minister said, he's committed to evidence-based decision making. I don't think everybody's doing that. And so I think the biggest challenge now is we need to look at the science. We need to say, this is what's going on with nicotine and smoking, and we need to, you know, look at, you know, what the research is showing, and then people need to get together and they need to say, okay, here's the science, now let's move forward together. So the big challenge is that people aren't working together right now, and they're just saying very negative things about each other, and it's confusing the public, and people don't know what to believe anymore. So they just keep smoking because they don't know anything about, you know, they don't know much about it.
Mm-hmm. Is it a hidden information, I mean, made on purpose, or is it just people who are not making more researches for themselves to know more about the consequences of nicotine for their health? Or is there also a campaign to hide the consequences, the negative consequences on nicotine?
Well, I think if you look back in history, the tobacco industry had made a lot of misinformation. So that happened, and that got really confusing because you would see advertisements of doctors saying, well, I choose this cigarette, you know, and that kind of stuff. Not very helpful and very confusing. I think now in some places you see a lot of, you know, there is campaigns, but they have different messages. So it is confusing. I think we're trying to learn a little bit more about that for this movie. We're trying to learn, well, why are different messages happening? Because I think people who use cigarettes are confused. They don't know, well, what is this? Like, maybe it's not true, maybe it is true, you know, and so if you have an addiction to something, the last thing you need is confusion, because people only need a little excuse to keep doing it. And so, you know, we are looking into that. Well, why are there different messages? Like, is there something going on here? You know, is there somebody in an industry or some secret group trying to confuse this? Because it does seem like it's very confused. So we don't have answers on that yet. We're still looking into that. So, yeah.
Okay. So when will the documentary be ready?
Well, it's going to be ready in spring. So 2020 spring, we're very excited. We're going to have a world premiere at a film festival, and then we'll be having different events around the world, different film festivals, and yeah, hoping to bring it here to Armenia. It's going to be, we have some beautiful footage of the country. It's a wonderful country. The people have been amazing, and we're really excited to show that to the world. We have some really good footage and really nice interviews, so it's going to be very special, and we're excited to bring it back here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And after Armenia, what is the next destination for you?
Yeah, so we're going to be going to Europe for a couple different countries, and then we're going to be going back to the US and doing some more follow-up interviews, and then we're going to be doing the editing. So yeah, it's going to be going quick here. Yeah, we'll be done by the end of the year making it. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Biebert, for this talk. Thank you for watching, and continue to follow CivilNet.